Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I got another deck profile for you guys today. This time it's on my vampire deck. Only now I decided to add a bit of the zombie world engine into this deck because it actually gives the deck a lot more power and a little bit more consistency. Now I had to work around the ratios quite a bit to find out like what is the best way to play this deck, and well, I think I found it. There's a lot of cool things you can do with vampires now, especially because like it can be used for XC summoning. You can also use the Synchro mechanic too, like bring out powerful boss monsters like Cyframe Lord Omega, and a lot more. So I just wanted to show you guys my newly improved vampire deck, and let's go and get started. So as y'all know, vampires is actually my favorite archetype in the entire game, and honestly the way I built it now, it might not be one of my favorite decks now. So anyway, starting off with 2 copies of Vampire Scarlet Scourge. Good thing about this card is that he's a monster reborn in and itself. If this card is normal or special summon, pay 1,000 life points to special summon a vampire from your grave, but it can't attack the turn it's summoned. But that's usually fine. The ones you usually bring out are never meant to attack anyway. And if this card destroys a monster in battle at the end of the battle phase, you can take control of that monster and summon it to your side of the field. So, really powerful card, and also, like, if you're going to XC summon for Vampire Sheridan, you can use the monster you took control of and it becomes a level 6. So that's one of the most broken things about this card. Next, 2 Vampire Furline. This card already is a hand trap in and itself. When a monster declares an attack, you can special summon this card at any given time. And also, you can pay your life points to boost the power of your zombie monsters. So it's generically good for zombie monsters anyway. Next, 2 Vampire Retainer. This card is special summon. You can pay 500 life points to add a vampire-related spell or trap. And also, if you summon it out by its own graveyard effect, you have to banish it. Same thing with Familiar, which searches out your monsters. Same cost and everything, so... But they're both really key to the strategy. The whole point is to try to get access to all your spells and traps. And basically, it's just a good way to set up your board, so, yeah. Alright, so next, moving on to the newer support. 2 copies of Doom King Ballard Drock. Just keep in mind, I'm running a lot of 2-ofs in this deck. But anyway, this card brings itself back at every standby phase as long as there's a field spell available. It doesn't have to just be Zombie World. So if your opponent happens to have a field spell, well, there you go. But whenever a zombie monster activates an effect, you can either negate that activation or you can banish 1 card on the field. So you can do 2 forms of disruption at any given turn. And it's a 1 per chain, so that's also really good. But each one can only be used once per turn. Next, 2 Necroworld Banshee, just to give you instant access to your zombie world, so you definitely want this in the grave. 1 Globe Bloom, or I'm not 1, 2 Globe Bloom. So if this card is sent to the graveyard, banish it from your grave and add 1 level 5 or higher zombie monster, and if Zombie World's available, you can special summon that monster. So really good, but keep in mind, Globe Bloom does lock you out to only summoning zombie monsters, but not that it matters, the whole deck is zombie, so yeah. Next, for staples, 3 Shinri Solitaire, just to give you access to your tuner monsters like Globe Bloom, or your most important one, Unizombie. Definitely want to get this out as quickly as you can. It modifies your levels, and also is a good way to dump all your zombies to the grave, so Unizombie, definitely good. And then next up, 3 copies of Mizuki, just another form of monster reborn. So yeah, I'm not running Gozuki in this build just because I felt I didn't really need it. I got a lot of ways to actually dump all my zombies to the grave, and plus, like I said, the vampire monsters kind of do the same thing too. So that's why I didn't feel like Gozuki wasn't really necessary. As for the only hand trap I'm running, Ash Blossom, it is a zombie, so if you discard this, and Doom King's already available, that's 2 forms of disruption, so you can just basically banish 1 card while, you know, stopping your opponent from adding cards, special summoning from the deck or whatever. So, yeah. Alright, so now we're moving on to spells and traps. Starting off with 3 copies of Zombie World, turns everything to zombie, and your opponent can't tribute summon unless it's for a zombie monster. Another cool thing about this card is that it's just like, again, it's a floodgate in and itself. And it goes so well with super polymerization. Since, you know, everything becomes zombie, you can summon out cards like Dragon Necro, so it's really busted. Next, 2 copies of Vampire's Domain. This basically is double summon for vampires. You pay 500 life points during your main phase, and you can normal summon 1 vampire in addition to your normal summon. And even if this card gets popped with a Ghost Ogre, as long as you paid the cost, you can still get the normal summon. So, really amazing card, and also if your vampire monsters do battle damage, you regain life points, so it's another good way just to get your advantage back, so yeah. Next, 2 Vampire's Desire. It's a Foolish Burial and Monster Rebornish card. You target 1 monster you control, send a vampire to the grave, Or you can target one vampire monster in your grave, send one monster you control to the grave, and special summon that vampire monster. So it has really, really good effects, so I definitely recommend 2 at least. 1 for 1, Foolish Burial, and that's pretty much it for the spells. As for my only traps, 2 copies of Vampire Domination. Whenever a spell, trap, or monster effect is activated, while you control a vampire monster, you can negate the activation. And if the monster you destroyed was a monster, or if the card you destroyed was a monster, you gain life points equal to its original attack points. So, really good, and it's searchable, so a searchable counter trap is always nice. Alright, so that's it for the main deck. That's 40 cards. Now we're moving on to the extra deck. Starting off with Vampire Sucker. You know, it's basically a Monarch Stormforth, and also whenever zombie monsters are special summoned from either player's graveyard, you get to draw 1 card. Got 1 Avenged Savior, which is another good way to send zombies to the grave, and it gains power by it, so really good. Link Rebo, just because I have a bunch of level 1s. I wasn't sure what to run on the next one, so I decided to go with Hita, since, you know, I did realize there are a couple fire monsters, mainly Shiranui Solitaire, which is really nice, and also it's just really good against like a lot of matches right now, like Salamangrades, Sky Strikers, anything that can run a fire monster. And as for my main Link 4, I'm running Mech Knight Crusader Avermax. I felt like this was the best one and the easiest to make in this deck, so yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about that. Alright, so now we're moving on to Synchros. Running Red Eye Zombie Necro Dragon, just for chances for OTK, and just gets stronger for every zombie in the grave. 1 Shiranui Shogun Saga, figured why not. 1 Cypher Lord Omega, every zombie deck needs this. New edition, Draco Berserker of the Tanya. I really wanted this card. It's a really good card that can actually out Nibiru, so whenever your opponent activates a monster's effect, and it doesn't matter where, you can banish it. And if this attacking card destroys an effect monster by battle and sends it to the grave, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack, and it can make a second attack on a monster during this battle phase, so really good. So, and the reason why this outs Nibiru is, like, it's not necessarily negating, it's just banishing it, so, like, and Nibiru needs to remain in hand to resolve, so if you get rid of it, it's gone for good, so they cannot tribute monsters. So, yeah, that is really good. Next, Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend, just to get you the advantage in time. For super poly targets, I got Starving Venom Fusion Dragon, Dragostapelia, and of course Dragon Necro, since, you know, with Zombie World, everything will become zombie. And as for the only Xyz monsters, I'm running Vampire Shuriken. Cool thing about that is that it requires 2+ level 6 monsters, so like I said, the ones who take control of with Scarlet Scourge, they'll become level 6s as well. And also, another powerful thing about this card is that whenever you detach an Xyz material, you can target 1 card on the field, and it just sends it to the grave, so it doesn't destroy. So, if you need to give around cards like Thunder Dragon Colossus, well, this is the card you'll definitely need. 1 Dragulus, the Vampiric Dragon. Same thing, if it's flipped face up, you can target 1 special summon, or I'm sorry, this card's flipped face up, send 1 card on the field to the grave. So, and this one doesn't target either, so Dragulus, definitely an amazing card. Alright, so that's it for those, and now let's move on to the next cards. For the side deck, we're just got to run Nibiru, 3 Artifact Lancia, Mind Control, for back row heavy strategies, Twin Twisters, and I was a little iffy about this one, but Rivalry of the Warlords. I feel like it's a little slow, this format, but, you know, I'll have to try it out some more just to see how it feels. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this, and I will catch you guys next time.